Aaron Hernandez had a 5-year Patriots contract extension worth nearly $40 million. But that came to an end when he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and 5 weapons charges. Prosecutors say he orchestrated the killing of 27-year-old Odin Lloyd, whose body was found last week less than a mile from the former NFL player's home. Carried out a cold-blooded execution, shooting Lloyd 5 times with bullets fired from a semi-automatic .45 caliber hand.
The case of Aaron Hernandez has become a very controversial and popular topic among the media, which ultimately motivated the creation of the docu-series Killer Inside: The Mind of Aaron Hernandez on Netflix.
For those who have yet to watch the series, the case of Aaron Hernandez can be compared to Phineas Gage. Similarly, Hernandez suffered from traumatic brain injuries and as a result suffered from behavioral changes. However, they differ through their kind of injury.
Hernandez, despite not experiencing an iron rod penetrating the brain and its surrounding bones or tissue, still suffered from significant changes in his behavior.
Prior to Hernandez's traumatic brain injury, he was popular, well-liked, kind, and had a bright future ahead of him, as noted by his peers.
A major inspiration of Hernandez's football career was his father, whom he saw as a role model.
Many of Hernandez's peers have said that the passing of his father was the turning point of his life, essentially clouding many of the values Hernandez has held and associated with his father.
Aaron was found in his cell, and autopsy reports ultimately revealed that he had suicided.
This was when Aaron's defense attorney suggested the donation of Aaron's brain for post-mortem study through the Boston University researchers.
The autopsy revealed unusually extensive deterioration to his frontal lobes. Dr. Erin McKee said this was the worst state of a brain she has ever seen in somebody so young.
It was revealed that Aaron Hernandez suffered from chronic traumatic encephalopathy, a severe brain disease that can only be determined post-mortem.
Despite strong efforts provided by the defense attorney of Aaron Hernandez, many individuals, including some of his teammates, refused to accept CTE as a defense.
Instead, they feel that this is a way to plead sympathy from the juries and society as a whole. Because Aaron played such a high-contact sport, he was at a higher risk of suffering from head injuries caused by football.
However, because of the little research on brain injuries and behavior, and the inability to diagnose CTE in a living body, Aaron was unable to receive the sufficient amount of help that could have ultimately steered him in a different path of life.
CTE's connection to sports has intensified through the suicides of several well-known athletes, such as Junior So and Dave Durson, also well-known football players who were diagnosed with CTE post-mortem.
Traumatic brain injuries, although most commonly talked about occurring in sports, also commonly occur as a result of an accident or any other blow to the head. Personally, both of us have suffered from mild traumatic brain injuries, more commonly known as a concussion.
Ironically, both of us became concussed in the same, most unexpected way. In grade 10, I was getting into the back of my parents' car after a long shift at work and slammed my head on the top of the car.
Similarly, in grade 12, I was on my lunch break during school and banged my head on the exact same spot of the car as Natalie-Joy, the top of the door, while getting in.
The difference between our cases is that I experienced more severe, long-lasting damage, also known as post-concussion syndrome. This impaired my ability to concentrate as well as recall recent information. Along with cognitive deficits, physical symptoms such as headaches and sensitivity to sound became sensations I eventually learned to habituate to.
On the other hand, my experience was the complete opposite, meaning that my recovery period only lasted about a week. My symptoms were simply sensitivity to light and a partial sensitivity to sound, causing headaches depending on the severity of the light or sound. After my doctor recommended recovery period was over, I was ready to return to my regular routine.
We believe that this difference could be a result of the ways in which we both treated our brain injury.
Both of our doctors instructed us to abstain from any screen time, remain rested in a dimly lit room, as well as avoid any activities that are highly cognitively demanding.
However, I will admit that despite the instructions provided to me by my doctor, I struggled to follow these guidelines. I found it difficult to stay entertained, alone in a dark room, so screens such as my phone or laptop became the easiest yet worst source of fun. I strongly believe that had I avoided these screens and activities that were cognitively demanding, my recovery would have had less consequences and been more short-term.
In contrast to how Natalie-Joy handled her recovery, I found it easier to adhere to my doctor's guidelines. I put forth my best efforts to refrain from looking at screens, spending time in brightly lit rooms, and also I avoided cognitively demanding activities. I believe that the time I spent recovering and focusing on the instructions given to me by my doctor allowed for my recovery to be short-term and caused my symptoms to be more manageable.
Through our research, we are able to conclude that the association between brain damage and behavior in terms of the neuroscientific evidence is unknown by many of the public. For this reason, many neuroscientists have labeled this as a silent epidemic.
In cases such as Phineas Gage and Aaron Hernandez, it can be clearly demonstrated that there are many long-lasting effects of TBIs that go unnoticed or unexplained.
We need more research on this topic, as well as educating more of society of the potential dangers and changes correlated with brain damage.